What's up? It's Felix Ames here, and you know I got soul.
We were supposed to get it in like a while ago, like a few months at this point. But I had some time to sit with the project. Sometimes I just learn more about you. And to be honest, you just popped up on my radar. To be very honest with you, and I like to be on top of my R&B. So
Hmm.
when I heard your stuff, I'm like, damn, how did I let him slip through the cracks? So shout out to your team because they definitely put me on, especially Brandon. Gotta give him shout out to Black Wax. I gotta give him his credit. But let's hop into your background a little bit so people can learn a little bit more about you. So tell me some artists and albums that really inspired your sound. Obviously, I hear some, like I say, D'Angelo, Maxwell, but tell me your perspective and how they inspired you to really get started into making your own stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I've been singing since I was like talking, like two or three. And growing up, when you listen to, so obviously it's a lot of D'Angelo, Maxwell, Erica Badu. Um, I love the Beatles, Paul Simon on the songwriting side. But growing up, we listened to a lot of. There's this blues band in Chicago. I grew up in Milwaukee. There's this blues band in Chicago called the Mighty Blue Kings, and we had one of their CDs in this boombox, and just like every time we cooked or anything, it was on. It was on. So that album was really like my first musical introduction. And then from there, like my dad was really into Motown and like a lot of Stevie too. Um, a lot of like Sheryl Crow and things like that. So and like the Dixie Chicks. So it was a lot. But for me, I think the soul music always hit for me, and like Stevie always hit for me. Blues too. I love blues too. I don't think you can hear a bit in the music, but not so much yet. So like I have a lot more to explore. But yeah, I would say so. That's kind of like how music was played in my house, and it was always like a time to come together. And I think the music that was played when we were all together is what really stuck with me the most. And like we went to church for a few years, super intensely. It was just a long like 4 hour service where the band was just jamming for like
Yeah,
90% of the service. So I think that was a big influence too, because those guys like all improvising too. It was crazy. So that's kind of like I look at that and I feel like that's where the bar is at for me.
yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned all of those because the whole project, well, like I told you, we're gonna jump into it, but it has hints to all that stuff. I even do some gospel at times too. And I've been to the services as well where it's like 90 minutes and hour and a half of just them jamming, but that, that's you can say that's real music to be honest. It's hard to do that and just keep going and
Yeah.
be
And the feeling is so potent too. I think that's the thing for me. It's just like, man, there's if you've been to a church service where the band is like locked in, you start to float, and like that's like the baseline for the feeling for my
no,
music, I think, you know.
it's a fact, yo. It's a fact. That's when that spirit kicks in and you're like, uh-oh, you know.
You're like, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, man. So I'm glad you mentioned all of that. Tell me a little bit about like your journey, how you got discovered, and signed to Def Jam. Like, I typically it's people just putting covers out on IG, or they just have a really strong catalog. What was it for you? They got like the eyes on you.
Yeah, so I actually wasn't even on social media and stuff while I was making the album. So I like had a finished album in hand and
Oh,
just
wow.
went to TikTok and started teasing Shoestring. And then I got Shoestring to go viral and just had a couple little moments after that. And yeah, that was pretty much it. And I just every meeting I took, I was like, this is the album, you know? So it was good. And that was pretty much it. We took the meeting with Def Jam and then put it out with them. And yeah, man, it was cool. It was like a natural progression. I low-key like wrote all this shit out exactly how it happened. And
Nice.
like it sounds hella pretentious, but like only my friends really know. Like I really wrote this shit down like step by step. So it's like
Hey,
it's wild.
nah, man. I'm one that believes in all that manifestation, even prayer and things of that nature, writing stuff down. So I'm not surprised. I think a lot of people do make it that way. The power of the mind.
Yeah,
But
definitely. Definitely.
I'm glad to hear that. Though. You gotta tell me a little bit about making the album without really being on social media and just what was your whole process for making the project? Because I didn't know that's how it happened with Def Jam. So I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so actually I started the album. When I started the album, I was living in my mom's basement in Milwaukee.
Mm.
She was still living there, and I was like, I was at a crossroads trying to figure out what I was gonna do in my life. I was at the point where I had been making music for like 5 years, and I was like, some things have been happening, but I'm like still trying to figure it out. Do I, is this? I had to choose it again. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I did, and then I built the studio in my mom's basement, got a new laptop, and was like, all right, let's see what we can do. Started recording again. Then I made 7-7-11 in her basement, and then I was like taking trips out to LA when I could to go work with my producer Calvin. Um, Shouts out Calvin Valentine, man. That's like right hand man. But yeah, and then we kind of just like the intention was there, and like I think going into it, I was doing a lot of self exploration because I had so much time. No one was worried about me sitting in my mom's basement. You know what I mean? Like that's the place I'm coming from, where like everything was so isolated because, and there was like no noise around me, so it was so silent. And I was like very clear with my intention of what I wanted to do and what I wanted to get from the album
Mm.
for myself. You know what I mean? It was like I want to come out of making the album with a better sense of self and understanding of like what torch I'm carrying. You know. Uh, and so then I started doing. In the meantime, I was doing stuff for TV and film, trying to get some bread in my pockets. And then that allowed me to move to LA and like finish making the album. But it was really like, if you can picture, it was just like me and Calvin, one of my best friends, just like getting in, smoking a bunch of weed, like talking.
Mm.
Actually, no, the first album I recorded completely sober. But just like chat, we did smoke a lot of weed together still, but it was like really just talking about life. And it was like a lot had happened in my life. I
Mm.
guess like every year for the past 4 years has felt like 10 in good and bad ways. But I had a lot I had to process, and it was just like therapy sessions. I would come in, hang out, and I think that's really key too. I felt very safe and comfortable the whole time,
Mm.
just with myself and also with producer as well. So, and then it's just kind of like the album just kind of happened, and we had the final track list, and I was like, let's lock it in and start moving some things around. So that's how it was made. Yeah, and then the deluxe was like the songs on the deluxe we made kind of as afterthoughts to the album.
Nice.
Um, and it felt natural to kind of just like tack them on there and tie. I don't know. I think I'm very intentional about like the whole arc, and I'm like back here like projecting on the wall. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So that's where we're at now.
Yeah, man. No, I love that. First of all, I love the whole story behind it. Um, like I said, I didn't know much about you going before this project, but to hear like your whole story and what you've done and accomplished already is honestly dope. And shout out to the production on that project for sure. So your producer. But to go back on what you were saying, man, like yeah, the whole album feels very authentic. Feels like yourself. And to hear the story behind it now, I can see why, you know? Um,
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of something I forgot too was so JENA is a town in Louisiana that my ancestors were brought to as slaves, and when I started making, or right before I started making the album, or no, I would say right when I started making the album, I was like at the tail end of like spending almost a year in Phoenix where my grandfather was living before he passed, and
mm,
just like pulling up on him, asking him questions. Like that was my dog, like one of my first best friends. So like kicking it with him and asking about our family and how he came up, and the contrast between the way he grew up and the way I grew up and the way the chances I've been able to take and the chances that he couldn't afford to take. I think that gave me the audacity, you know what I'm saying? A little bit more audacity where I'm like, I don't give a, can I curse on here? I don't give a fuck about, you know what I mean? Like what anybody else is talking about, what's going on in the industry in general. Like it's just, there's so much chatter, and I'm like, you have to clear out the noise and focus on what's on your plate and try to make that shit bang.
yeah.
And if it's not happening, you just keep trying, like for me, I'm like a music lover,
Mhm.
and I'm never gonna stop making music. So I just have fun with this shit,
Yeah.
put it out, and there's never any real pressure for it to be like the moment. Like, cause I'm gonna be putting out albums for 15, 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No, absolutely, man. There's a difference. You could say there's a line between like people just making music to either be in the business or make the money, and people that love it and just want to make it. And most of the time, especially there's a lot of artists coming out now that it's happening. You're included in this this group. Is like it's themselves, it's authentic. They don't care about the other noise, and the music is standing out from everything else. Like one person I'll mention is Jalen Josie, which is your label mate, one of my favorite artists right now, and she has that same thing. And the reason I'm bringing her up is because she had a very close relationship with her grandfather as well, and her songs that she had about her grandfather touched me because I'm really close to my grandma. So it's like,
Yeah.
and there's songs I believe it's the last song on the album for you that
Hmm.
that touched me. And we're gonna talk about that song. Um, 'Cause you can, when you put yourself in it, people feel it, man. And I definitely a
Yeah, yeah.
song. So to talk about it, like I said, the project's been out for a minute. And I was able to sit with it for a while. So how's the reception been? Like for me, it just got better with time. And how do you feel
Yeah.
people around you? Like what have they been saying? And your fans?
Man, really, it's interesting because I pay attention to what people say, but really, like, for me, it's like it's coming from me. So as long as the music is still hitting for me on that level, like over time, it's hitting more and more for me, and it came from me. So I feel like that's my gauge because sometimes people take some time for it to. It sounds a little different. It's a little like It's my first album. Um, so really, like, I just been enjoying the shit, enjoying having it out. Like tour was amazing, singing it back to people. Like I went on my first tour, the Speakeasy tour last fall, and we're getting ready to tour this year, and I'm playing Reading Leeds um in Legion Reading. I don't know how to say it, man, but the festival in the UK this summer. So I'm excited to have the music out and just to be sharing it, man, because like I don't know, like it could have this biggest streaming year in 5 years, like Lord knows. But it's cool though. It's cool to cement this first chapter and just like keep it pushing.
Agreed. Yeah, yeah. And to me, my reception of it is that it's almost more of like a timeless thing because I do like you said, you can come back in 5 years and be like, damn, he started off like crazy coming in with like his album already, his debut. So I'm happy to hear that you're continuing to push forward and knowing that, yeah, like this is the moment right now, but we got a lot more to come. And
Yeah, yeah.
we're gonna talk about that for sure. I want to ask you this question. I really have never asked this for other albums, but the artwork, was there something behind that? Because I just love the artwork. I usually don't know if people, I know that it's intentional a lot of the times, but sometimes it's just like you think the picture's fire, I think it's dope.
Yeah.
How was it for you for putting
I
that as
think for me, it's interesting because everything I make is like a different. I come from a different, or the intention is different. Sometimes I'm just like fishing, trying to figure out how to capture the feeling the best. But for this one, I had like a bunch of reference images and a very specific vision for what I wanted the shoot to be.
mm,
Uh, I wanted it to be underwater because I feel like the feeling of uh like being in the album for me, it's like everything else is closed out, and it's like the silence that came from uh the photo shoot that the cover art came from. I was trying to create the feeling of listening to the album, if that makes sense.
okay.
And it's just like when you're underwater, it's damn near silent. Your eyes are closed. Like it's a certain incubation in a way. And I think that's what I was trying to capture. And then the hand is like it's symbolic. I'll say that.
Okay.
And it'll continue to make more sense as we go into the future releases. But it's just I wanted long story short, I wanted the cover art to feel like the album and feel like the reflection, and like the hand is it's divine intervention, and it's also a bunch of other things,
Hey man,
you know.
I love that, man. I love that, bro. It shows me you care about your craft and everything. Every detail is intentional, and to me that makes the project even better, And now
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna be on the lookout for your other artworks now, and I'm gonna try and piece it together.
Yeah, and it'll make sense, and if it'll feel right.
I bet. I love that. I love that. Let's hop into some of the songs, especially the ones that stood out to me. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to speak about one that you really want to speak about, if we don't speak about it. But like I said, bro, super solid project, super solid R&B project. Let me say that especially. Bringing soul back for sure. And this is gonna sound, you know, kind of corny, but you know, I know you got soul, like literally. I don't think I ever said that to one of the artists before, so but I really don't think I have. But I know you got soul, man. So I love majority of the songs are all like standout singles to me and hits, but some of the ones that really did get me were actually the singles already. So don't be alarmed. Stuck was stuck in my head for a long time. So just tell me a little bit about what inspired that song, just making it and anything you want to speak about on it.
Yeah, that was a song we made. It wasn't even gonna be on the album actually. That was the last song we added to the album.
Okay.
Um, because I don't know, I felt like we needed another a breath of fresh air, I guess, on the album, and that was the song that felt like a breath of fresh air. Um, and that was the song I made right around the time, if I'm not mistaken, where I was like moving into the album rollout. Like it was time to start like actually getting ready to put the album out, and like it was a lot going on, and also like romantically, I had a lot going on, and so I was like, you know, trying to turn the page. I think for me, when I'm making music, I'm like I'm almost like telling myself what I need to hear.
Okay.
So, and like I'm saying it so convinced, but it's really like a lot of times it feels like I'm hearing myself, like talking to myself in real time. And I'm like making sense of things in the same way that like journaling helps with that as well. Um, but yeah, that song, like the ooze, the ooh, ooh, like that shit, I freestyled that part and it was just like that at that point the song just wrote itself.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. That was one of the ones. I made that one with Calvin and my homie Lucas Gorham on guitar. And we just like jam, it's like it was just another day we just got in and like jammed and made the best shit we could, went home, you feel me? Like it's really like
Yeah.
yeah, I really try to treat this shit like it's just part of my week to week life. Like I'm just and it helps take the ego out of the creation process because you can't have that. You
Mm.
can't have that in the room. And I'm always very upfront with everybody I work with. Like we could get in and it could just not be the day. We make whatever we make and then we can go just like chill, you know what I'm saying? Smoke a joint in the backyard. Like I think pressure can bring great work out of me, but I think baseline creating with no pressure and just rather like trying to explore is more
Yeah.
conducive to like making good shit for me.
Yeah, man. Like, but what I'm getting from this is most of the songs, if not all of them, are just kind of the flow of you. You're just flowing and what's coming out of it is coming out, and that makes sense, is because really the project feels that way. It just feels very
Yeah.
loose. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's just exploring. It's just exploring. It also like helps new things happen as opposed to working with some type of formula. Like it's just letting shit happen, getting out of the way.
I love that, and it kind of ties into your whole story of just how it just happened. Like you just
Yeah, yeah.
it's happening currently. You know.
Listen, you can't make this shit up, man. Like whenever I have the Netflix special in like, 10 years looking back on shit, like you so much lines up. And that's why I'm like, man, I'm just grateful to be able to do this
Yeah,
for a
man.
living and like be able to play, like put music out and have people that are gonna listen to it off rip.
Yeah.
Go to like have people that are gonna buy tickets. Like that's just the hardest shit to me. And I'm like grateful to be here mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, it's a blessing, and like I said, I'm looking forward to more stuff. I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to more. Um, but another one that really stuck out to me was I'm trying to think which one I should hop into first. I love 7711, um, but I also love Bend Don't Break, so I think we should hop into Bend Don't Break first.
Yeah.
Definitely one that really stuck out to me. So talk about making that and what inspired that song.
Yeah, it was kind of same thing, or not same thing, but the process was the same. Same people too, as with Calvin and Lucas. Um, yeah, we start sessions out just like kicking it for an like whatever unplanned amount of time.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, let's go chill in the studio, blah blah blah. And man, I hadn't I was low key going through a break, like right before a breakup after like a really long-term relationship. And I was just like, again, like kind of talking myself through it.
Hmm.
And yeah, and then just let Lucas like sing on it with the guitar. It always happens very organically. Like the people I work with, and even when I work with new people, like we're on the same page, and there's never, if I feel a way about something, I'll say it. If they feel a way about something, we'll say it and just trying to like do what's best for the song. So it's like I said, hella low pressure, just stream of consciousness. I just like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah, sure. And like I said, you feel that for sure. Is there a certain song that there's a story behind that you want to talk about that's on the album?
man. So let me think. Oh, okay, so Shoestring and the intro, Always I'll Stay. Those two, so we had damn near a completely different album at the time that we made those two.
Mm,
And then we had sessions scheduled on Saturday and Sunday. And then it's the first session with my guy Lucas on Saturday, and we made Shoestring. And I was like, God damn, like we got to get in tomorrow too.
yeah,
And so we got in on Sunday and made the intro. And I'm like, damn, this is like, because for me, I think it's an interesting thing to observe your like awareness that other people will be perceiving your work and have to ignore that and be like, nah, whatever feels the best and is the most vulnerable and like hits you in the chest is what I need to,
yeah,
that's what I'm going for. My goal isn't to be cool. My goal isn't to like be liked. My goal is to be honest. And so those two songs, I was like, man, we gotta go deeper. Like we gotta dig deeper. And so I ended up like scrapping a bunch of songs that were on the album and we just like went back in for another few months and that's when the album like
shape.
formed itself. Yeah, it was crazy. But that weekend was special.
That's I love that, man. It kind of reminds me of a story of I'm sure you know that Justin Timberlake album with Pharrell, the Justify. How it was kind of
Yeah,
just
yeah.
made in like a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, just because they were feeling it and getting that flow. So it definitely reminds me of that. And again, I gotta shout out the producers because the whole production of this whole thing is insane. And I gotta shout out your vocal ability as well, just the harmonies and you did arrangements, top tier. So
Thank you, man.
for sure, it's great music, man. So one song I want to talk about, and then we're gonna hop into your future, and I'm gonna let you get out of here. But Half a Man, like I told you already, that's definitely the song that probably touched me the most. So why don't you just speak about that a little bit?
So that one, I was in Phoenix. I had just said goodbye to my grandfather. He hadn't yet passed, but was on hospice and like I was going back to work kind of thing. So I flew back to LA. Then I had sessions and I was like, and my therapist always tells me, or she's always told me, I've had the same therapist for a long time. She's always like, no matter what you're feeling, like that doesn't mean you can't create.
Mm,
That's something she told. Because I used to like, nah, I don't even feel like. She's like, no matter, because you never know what's gonna be there, and any emotion could come out to be anything. And I was like, and so we got in the studio. It was at Calvin's house. The whole album was made at Calvin's house, and uh, my homie Wyatt came over, Swisher, and I think we had tried a couple things, and we were like, like it's not, maybe it's not here. Let's try a couple more things and see what happens. No pressure. And then he was like, "Oh, I have this." Then he was just kind of fucking around. Wyatt was just fucking around in the keys. He's like, "Oh, I actually have my like college, my final project for college, my college dissertation, like his not dissertation, but like his, because he went to school for jazz piano, and so the Half a Man keys is actually like the composition he did for his final project for
wow.
college, and so it was something that he had written already, and I was like, it's exactly what I wanted to hear. And then he had to dip to go to work, and I had like the song was almost done already, and I was like, just we have to get a piano solo after this hook right here. And he like puts the shit down quick, comes in and does the solo, and then he's like just walks straight out. And I was like, all right, like guess we got it. But it was special though. It was a lot. it's interesting too because I think that was like only like the second time I had met the homie Wyatt. And so I'm like this it's interesting as an artist to have to train yourself to be able to get very vulnerable in front of people you don't really know like that.
Mm.
But also like to protect yourself from like when you're out in the world, being able to like have like a bubble around you so you can just exist still. I don't know. It's an interesting balance that I'm figuring out still, but that's how that song came out. And then we sent it to uh the string arranger Phil, who's in Seattle, and he arranged the strings on there, and it was like, you know,
Yeah.
then it was there. And then I found the voicemail from my grandfather too. I because I knew I had some. I was like, let me go find one. I was like, man, because I was like it's like a proper goodbye. Like he would always just call and check in on me, be like, just wanted to call see if you're doing all right. And I'm like, man, my little like me as a little kid feeling like this grown person like actually cares what you think and about your thoughts and about your life gives you a sense of confidence as a kid. And I feel like the voicemail and the sign out and having that song be the outro is like my like carrying the torch moment, like because I wanted to figure out what torch I was carrying. Now I know, and that's like signifying to myself like here, you know what I'm saying?
It's a beautiful story, man. Like I said, that song touches me, and I know why. So, it's one of the ones that stick out, and I'm glad that you were able to have that moment for yourself and just really share that with the world because you never know who's gonna hear and be like, damn, like I needed that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
It's cool to hear that your therapist said that. It's something I'll have to keep in mind just in life. You know,
For sure. Hey, she got gems. Listen, we're
okay.
gonna we're gonna co-write a book one day. She's gonna be my ghostwriter.
I'm not opposed to that. I'll be reading it. So, let's just hop a little bit and see a future. Well, actually, I want to talk about Mr. Weatherman. I'm gonna tie it into next question with the deluxe. Just, is it gonna sound similar to um Mr. Weatherman or just the whole project in general? You kind of mentioned it, but
No, it's like I would say it's uh like album 1.5. You know what I mean? Like it's not this like I said, this wasn't even for the first album. So it's like I really found the ones and we found a way to mold it into like telling the sequel a little bit, like a little like little hint at the sequel. And sonically it's very different. Um even from Mr. Weatherman, like the other joints that are on there are very different. So I'm excited. I'm excited to start like diversifying and building a catalog and um because the first album was only when we first stumbled on the sound, you know what I mean? And I was like, there's so much building out and exploring to do. So yeah, I'm excited.
we're gonna keep our ears to the streets for that. So, I'm excited for it for sure. And this kind of, well, this is a question I wanted to ask earlier, but I think it's a good time now. You mentioned living in New York, New York. Um, I never heard of Milwaukee, just so you know. Like I said, I'm from Jersey.
Fair,
I don't know what's going on over there.
fair.
I do know what's going on in New York. So, has New York influenced your sound? I'm assuming Milwaukee has, and you mentioned it that it has.
Hmm.
But has New York kind of influenced your sound that you're making now? Or if you even started really diving into that, but I'm curious.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. The music I started making since I got here has been very like raw and I don't know. I think it's very the main difference I would say between LA and New York creatively for me is in LA, I'm like going to my car, sitting in my car until I get to my destination and just getting out and walking inside. Like here, same with fashion, like putting on a fit, sitting in a car, getting out, walking in somewhere, and then being in your fit basically is different than putting on a fit in the crib, walking out the crib in your fit, walking, you know what I'm saying? Like being in transit to your destination. And I feel like it's the same way. It's just feels more like feet on the concrete here.
Mm.
Uh where like you see people from every walk of life every day, all the time, everywhere. And like that, I feel like I just feel like I think more. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just like,
Going
you
through it.
know, and I'm meeting people more. I'm meeting people more. I'm getting out the crib more. So it's just yeah, it's really the best thing that's happened for my music in a minute.
That's great. That's great. I love New York because I agree with you. Like, there's always something that's sparking inspiration. Even if you
Yeah.
train, you're gonna see something, and you're gonna meet
Yeah,
someone.
exactly.
That's how it is, you know. Um, this is my last question, and I want to do this segment called Rapid Questions, just because I feel like it'd be fun. I do it once in a while, but I feel like I would love to hear your answers for it. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Last question, just what's next? I know the Deluxe is coming this Friday, which is I guess next Friday at this point, but maybe when this drops, it's this Friday. Um, I know the Deluxe is coming, but is there any more goals you have for the rest of the year? Any more hints you can give us for what's coming next?
Yeah, I think I've been trying to my whole career I've been thinking like in terms of objective goals like that I want to hit. But I think this year I've been trying to focus more on doing everything I do like 100%. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, we just need to. It's easy to cut corners because when you're only one person and you want to be hands on with everything, it just becomes a lot. But I just want to be very like be 100% all in on everything I do, every show I play, every festival I play. Because like you never know the timing of things, and I just want to keep pulling up from half court, seeing if I could bank a couple of them things in. You know what I mean? Because really, like I'm still making the music, I'm still in process. I'm working on the next album, so it's like I'm fully like in that mode, and I'm just trying to, what I'm saying, keep building my life, keep building the sound, and keep exploring. Really.
Yeah, nah, I love to hear that for you. We're excited, really. Like, as I said before, multiple times for what's next. And like you said, man, you never know the time. So I'm just glad to hear you're still working. We're definitely gonna be supporting as soon as the stuff drops. And I'm glad you're in that bag still. Stay in that bag because we need some good.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for you to hear some of the new shit. Yeah,
Absolutely, bro. Um, Rapid questions, man. I'm gonna let you get out of here. They're a little fast. I mean, not a little fast, a little hard. Um,
I'm ready for him.
yeah, let's just do it. Favorite album off the top of your head? One album.
Voodoo.
Dang, that was quick as hell. Usually it ain't that quick. uh,
Nah, I'm locked.
I bet. Favorite song.
Right now it is okay. This is a harder one. Hold on, because this is one where I don't want to give the wrong answer.
Got you.
Uh, my favorite answer right now is Superwoman by Stevie Wonder.
Nice, nice. I had an interview maybe a few weeks ago. Someone else, his name is Christian Paul. He's a really good R&B artist coming up. And we were just talking about Stevie as well. Stevie's just nasty with the influences now that people, like I'm seeing people who are influenced by him. They're always the nastiest.
And there's so much to dig through, and the musicality's deep. You know what I'm saying? So and
Man,
there's man his catalog too crazy.
it's insane. I'm glad that's like we live in this era that we can like dive into that mad easy now. People didn't
Mm-hmm.
back then. So the next question,
Facts.
an album that you wish you were featured on.
Uh, the last Cleo Soul album, I feel like I could have bodied the feature on.
Hey, okay. Uh,
Gold, it's called.
hey, shout out Cleo.
Yeah,
She's a crazy artist too.
yeah. Her writing, her voice, it's just like it takes so much. I I think when you know how much it takes to really like have everything aligned and to be able to just exist like she does on songs and albums, like
Yeah,
I
it's
love it. I
it's
love it.
definitely a talent to do that. It's like a talent.
Yeah, to
Um,
make it feel effortless, even though we know how much effort it takes.
Absolutely, exactly. A song you wish you wrote.
Oh, She's Gone by Hall and Oates.
Really? Okay. Now
Ooh,
I love that.
listen, them white boys were on some shit.
Now
Oh my God.
me
Yo, listen to that song as soon as we get off.
yeah,
She's Gone by Hall and Oates. Like
I got you.
crazy. The writing, the melodies. Yeah.
I got you. I'm definitely gonna bump as soon as I get off. Next one, I got two more. I like to give a random one at the end. So, but the next one, I'm just gonna say Dream Collab. Either
Mm,
good producer, it could be, artist, whoever.
yeah. I think well, I think like outside of music, I want to collaborate with like a luxury furniture company. Um I'm really into the interior design, and I'm gonna be this is like more off the air, but working on like an interior design, like home goods company
Oh,
right
cool.
now. That's like on the back. That's like in the slow cooker. So that takes like real years. But on the musical side, I think Snow Allegra or Cleo Soul probably.
Nice.
It's like a beautiful, soulful,
Yeah,
woman. I think is would be perfect.
yeah, your voices would definitely.
Ooh, yeah. Or like DJ Premier on the beats. You
Yeah.
know,
Hey, hey, anything, bro. Anything at this point. You never know what's gonna work. You know, you really don't.
God is real.
That is real. I'll say that with all my heart. Last thing, man. This is more of a personal question for you. A song that you feel of your catalog that someone needs to hear that really describes you the most right now that's out.
What a good time off the Deluxe.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
I'm gonna be waiting to hear.
yeah. That's
I'll be waiting to hear that. Um, Man, Felix, I gotta say, bro, it was really, really a pleasure hearing everything, getting to know you more, and just knowing that you really care about your craft, and just it makes me excited. I speak to a lot of artists, and I always tell them there's a lot more that are coming up that care, but to see another one and who I genuinely love their music, it's a pleasure to speak with you and hear more, and I can't wait for the next things that are coming, man. So thank you for
yeah, man. It was great to chop it up. I appreciate you, man.